Okay, with you guys? Yeah? Okay. So hi everybody. So I'm Rachel and this is Sandra, and as was said, we are part of a research collective called the Collectif de Recherche sur l'Autonomie Collective, or CRAC, research collective on collective autonomy. It's an anti-authoritarian feminist research collective based in Montreal, and the people listed here are actually members who worked on this presentation, but there are more members to our collective. We all have been involved in researching with the anti-authoritarian and anarchist milieu with CRAC since 2005, and we all belonged to this milieu before CRAC was formed also. To date, CRAC has interviewed 127 people belonging to different groups and networks, which are listed here to give you an idea. And then we publish monographs on each of these groups. This is the product of our research, I guess one of the products. And we also do other things like transversal analysis on specific themes across these groups and with using all of this material. So today we'd like to discuss ethical considerations arising in anarchist research using theories of ethics and anarchist politics and practices to analyze the affinity group structure of our research collective, and using the concept, very popular today it seems, of prefigurative politics. We'd like to argue that prefigurative anti-authoritarian, and I'm sorry for my English, thank you for your patience with that, but so prefigurative anti-authoritarian ethics in participatory action research can build in mechanisms for accountability in research. So maybe following Chris's argument.
So, the microphone. In the university, when conducting interviews, we're required to submit an ethics protocol. This is what's known as procedural ethics, whereby the protection of research subjects is presumed to be ensured through consent forms. Ethical considerations are fulfilled preceding and external to the interview process. Of course, many critiques of the discourse of protection have been raised. Situational ethics, for example, suggests that ethical questions arising in interview situations should be addressed by researchers taking ethical action. However, this doesn't always account for the needs or wishes of the subjects. Challenging traditional ethics, feminist researchers have played a key role in developing participatory action research methods, which build an ethical framework into the process of research. People interviewed are considered not subjects, but participants, and accountability emerges through negotiations among researchers and participants, blurring the boundary so that participants become researchers. Rosemary Tong proposes a feminist ethics of care. She examines the gendering of ethics, which considered the source of ethics to be autonomous man, with a rational intellectual rights and rules emphasis. And challenging this, feminists proposed the notion of communal woman as a source of ethical practices based on relationships, cooperation, and responsibility to others, and an ethics of care which can be integrated into the interviewing process. If we deconstruct this binary, and I'm sure everyone's like cringing at the binary, but I think the two concepts are interesting, so we can combine the autonomous with the communal, and we begin to see an anti-authoritarian ethics emerging that looks to autonomous collectives as a source of ethical, accountable practices. Jagar calls this relational ethics, developed through the nurturing of relationships among researchers and participants. Furthermore, she argues that feminist ethics are aimed at achieving social justice through research by advocating for the elimination of oppression of any group, a finding supported by many others, but I'll just mention one, Hoagland's proposition of a queer or lesbian ethics, in which research contributes to self-creation, freedom, and liberation. Similarly, Sandra Harding argues that researchers should replace the presumed value-neutral stance of knowledge production, typically in the past male-dominated, classist, racist, for one that admits to its value orientation and can therefore be explicitly emancipatory. So feminist research for anti-authoritarians must also include anti-racist and queer subjectivities and methods. To take an example of this in practice, Cahill undertakes anti-racist research with illegalized teenagers without legal status in the US, attempting to negotiate the transition from high school to college without status. So working toward the research community's own goals, the researchers have a collective responsibility to address ethical questions of representation, political strategy, and emotional engagement. Again, here we see a combination of autonomous political strategies and collective or relational emotional engagements. So Cahill builds on a relational ethics of care to show how fostering profound, enduring relationships, as Chris was talking about, can be a method of disrupting power relations of dominance. Sorry, where am I? I just lost my... okay, close enough. Michelle Fine argues that research can be a method of disrupting power relations of dominance, which is also a central tenet in feminist methodologies which examine gendered power dynamics of oppression and privilege. And yet we might ask, is the researcher not always in a position of power over the research participants? For example, Cahill's research participants are non-status high school students, meaning that there will be a built-in power differential that's difficult to overcome. Patai suggests that the only projects that avoid this program, I can't do my quotation marks because I'm holding the mic, are those that are all at stages are those that are at all stages genuinely in control of a community, with the community assuming the role of both researched and researcher. So, sorry?
I'm closing.
Oh, thank you. In our research project, the anti-authoritarian community in Montreal is both researcher and researched. Anti-authoritarians, of course, challenge unequal power dynamics through prefigurative politics in all spheres of life. And for Cindy Milstein, just to give a quick quote, what is prefigurative politics? The idea that there should be an ethically consistent relationship between the means and the ends. In CRAC, our commitment is to make the research process ethically consistent with the research results, which are not only publications, but also anti-authoritarian relationships and action tools. CRAC thus extends feminist relational ethics in research to practice what we're calling prefigurative anti-authoritarian ethics. Over to Michelle.